Good evening, teacher. We are the group number 11. We are going to present the code switching or code mixing. Our group is made up of Milagros Villalta, Paco Villalba, Pablo Zambrano, Viviana Zapata, y Mayra Zapata. Okay, can you turn to the next slide, please? Okay, first, I'm going to talk about the participants, solidarity, and status. There are different reasons why a speaker switches from one language to another. A speaker may use code switching to express solidarity with a particular address who is taking part in a communicative event. There are two types of events that we are searching. The first one shares a cultural background with a group of people. Such a switch occurs not only with fluent speakers of different language, but also speakers who are not very proficiency in a second language. Those who are not very skillfully in speaking a second language tend to use short phrases and words. For example, in a group of people, someone is talking in English, and a third person arrives, and then suddenly switch to Spanish to interact with a third person. That it means shares a cultural background with a group of people. Then we have use serves to identify what a particular social group the speakers belongs to. So this aspect of language use serves to identify what a particular social group speakers belongs to, or what his social identity is. For example, two people who are from Mexico are talking, and then suddenly came a third person who is from the United States. The Mexican people switch the conversation to English to interact with the American person. So that means solidarity with the third person to communicate, switching the languages. Okay, thank you.
I'm going to talk about the topic. The code switching is the act of moving between different presentation or modes of communication, and in this case, talk about certain topics. This can be act of self-preservation or performance in the situation with unequal power dynamics. For example, on the subway, a guy in his 20s says, "I'm gonna make up my mind," in the middle of his conversation in Finnish. Or a Puerto Rican citizen is a good example of what code switching sounds like when he says, "La comida estaba delicious. We enjoyed it a lot." Or "La verdad que pasamos una noche super nice," in Spanish and English. In each of these examples, it can be seen that certain expressions are used that are in another language than the one they normally use, and it is because they feel more comfortable doing it that way. In addition to feeling that it is expressed better. Thank you.
I will talk about the affective functions. The affective functions focus on emotions and attitudes related to the use of different dialects of a language or the combination of several languages. That is, code switching is used to convey affective meaning without the need to refer to something or someone in special. We can use the affective functions to refer or express feelings of cultural identity, feelings of belonging to a social group, or simple to express emotions and attitudes. For example, a speaker who uses elements of their native language in a conversation in another language create a deep connections with cultural identity, or the speaker that express emotional perceptions or attitudes that can only be identified in his dialect or language. Thank you.
Okay, and here we have a lexical borrowing as a general term for all kinds of transfer or copying processes whether they are due to native speakers adopting elements from other languages into the receptor language, or whether they result from non-native speakers imposing properties of their native language. This general definition is the most frequent use of the term borrowing, but borrowing has also been used to refer to the incorporation of foreign elements into the speaker's native language. And here we have an example that it says English has the lexical borrowing sweater, to sweat, that is meant to sweat, and borrowed from Spanish sweater and saco. Sweater comes from suitor, which comes from the English verb to sweat, and the suffix er indicates something that causes sweating. Thank you.
Okay, in this topic, we're talking about linguistic constraint, the principle that predict what is permissible, not permissible in code missing, and code switching between language. It's like a rule that prohibits a speaker building a particular kind of sentence. Based on this, switching is said to occur only in sentences where two languages have similar grammatical structure. One language is called the parent language as the dominant language, and the other language is called the embedded language as the subordinate language. Let's say that the dominant language imposes its own grammatical framework when the subordinate language are inserted. As example, we have standard English and non-standard English. In the case of the standard English, it's like a formal language with correct grammatical structure. As example, we have good morning, how are you? I am pleased to meet you. In the case of non-standard English, it's a very informal language. We don't use the full sentence. As example, we have, hey, all right. As another example, we have the British English and American English. That's a comparison between the vocabulary. In the case of American English is cookie and British English is biscuit. In grammatic, for example, we have, I haven't seen her in weeks. We use in weeks in American English. In British, we use, I haven't seen her for a week. In this case, we use for weeks. Thank you. That's all for me.